What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Kart Smart TV. Had one brought to us that said had a really bad oil leak. It was hard to start, and it would jerk really bad when it finally did start to run and take off. So let's dive into what we got. The first thing I noticed when the customer dropped this off was the fact that when he said something about it's jerking and making a real bad banging sound when the cart was running. First thing I looked at was right there in this area right here. You should have a snubber. That's what it's called, is a snubber. But it's like a motor mount. Works just like the ones in your car do. Gives this support, gives the engine cradle support, and it takes the pressure off of the golf cart when it goes to take off. Once we get that in, we'll take it for a ride again and see what's going on here, which we got to get some oil circulating so I can see if I can find out where this oil is coming from. But it looks like it's either going to be a side cover, maybe a little hard to see, but you can see all the black build up right through there. It's really bad on the behind the clutch area. It's really hard to see right there. I'll get a better shot of it when I get it out the cart. Probably spitting oil out, or either it's a crankshaft seal on the clutch side here. So we're gonna get that. We're gonna get this going. Get all this stuff off of here. We got to get our muffler out the way. Got to unhook all our lines, fuel lines, your fuel pump line. Got to get the starter generator off, the belts off, and then we got to get a few bolts loose from the cradle itself. And then we'll have this thing slipped out of here and we'll get a better view of what's going on with this oil leak. Alright, everybody, so we got that motor out. Gonna get this cradle cleaned up. Get all the nasty out for a minute. Little cigar down in there. The things you find in a golf cart. Get all that nasty mess out of there. Get over here to the bench and see if we can't find out where all this gunk is coming from. Pretty sure it's going to be the side cover gasket. Typically that's what it is here. But like I said, we could have the crankshaft seal that's gone bad here. I'll also probably pull that fan over there, check all that just to make sure that that's not leaking on that side. Alright guys, so we're going to get this clutch off, and we're going to get the oil out of it. And then we'll get the side cover off of it and check this crankshaft seal on this side, see what it looks like. And may just go ahead and replace it just so the customer don't have any problems out of it in the future. And then we'll spin the motor around, check the fan side, and see what that seal looks like as well. So, alright guys, so let's get this clutch pulled off. Now remember, in some cases in the club car, the bolt that holds your clutch to the motor has to go the opposite direction to get it out in some cases. This is going to be one of those cases. So when I use my impact gun, I'm actually going to go in forward or tightening on the gun to get the bolt to come out because it's reverse threaded. There you go. Put your puller in there. Just leave it in your forward on your impact gun or whatever you have. That one was on there tight. But you see how it'll pop right off like that? You have it in your hand. Just take the puller out. Put it off to the side. Sort of does look like maybe this seal has been leaking a bit. Sometimes you do have a problem out of your dipstick tube. That's as simple as a new O-ring, possibly, as long as the side cover isn't damaged there, because that's all that seals that off, is a O-ring on the tube of the dipstick. Let's get the oil out of this thing now. it'll cause one to stick in there, so be mindful, guys. There we go. As we can see right here, the gasket has crumbled apart, let go, and so it was definitely blowing out the top right here. So we'll get this cleaned up, get this nice and clean again, this surface, and we will throw a gasket on here. We will put a new seal in here as well. Seal right here. That's your clutch side crankshaft seal. A bunch of this cleaned up. I'll clean this engine off, and we'll throw it back together. Alright guys, got our new seal in on the crankshaft. On the clutch side cover gasket on. Get this bearing knocked back into place real quick. Sometimes you gotta tap it a little bit like that around this area. That way it'll get back into its place nice and easy, because sometimes you get this rust built up on the crankshaft. It will cause it to kind of be a little tough to go on there. Alright guys, so when you watch me pull out all these bolts, I just pulled them out and threw them off to the side, and we got the side cover off. So going back on, I want to show you that there are 2 bolts in the side cover that do matter where they go. And so they're going to be like this. See how they look like sort of a studded type bolt? Alright, so if your engine still has the direction of the way it rotates, one bolt's going to be in front of that, one bolt's going to be behind that. And that's because you have your wire retainers that go right here like this to help keep your throttle cable and your cable that initially sends signal for spark into your RPM limit box down here. You want to keep those all in the same direction. All the other bolts though, they're all the same length, so it does not matter what hole you put them in. Alright guys, there you go. Side cover gasket replaced, crankshaft seal replaced. Just good practice to do that while it's out. We're going to take this thing and put the rest of it back together. Dipstick tube, all that good stuff back on. Don't want to bore you with all that. So get it all back together, and then we're going to get the clutch back on it and back into the golf cart. From the bench to the cart. We're going to get this thing buttoned back up here and hopefully try to get this thing running. Alright guys, I know there's not a lot going on there, but I was under there putting the 4 bolts back in the bottom of the block, and the 2 that are on the back of the block that go into the engine carriage, and that's how they keep it secured to the carriage there. So gonna finish up those 4 on the bottom, get them tight, we'll be good to go. So now that you got all your motor bolts tight, putting back on like your throttle cables, pedal assembly to the governor, and that's where I was showing you guys earlier, those little ring pieces that go on the side cover right here with those 2 specialized bolts. That's what they're for, is to hold this cable in a good straight direction. Alright, so it's hard to show you is how these cables run. So you got this cable that comes in back here. That's the cable out of the pedal right here into the governor, which is right back there on that bracket right there. So we're going to pop that back into that bracket, get it hooked back to the governor, and then also you're going to want to run this. It's a white wire with a black stripe on it. It has everything to do with sending signal into your limit box. It's got a bullet connector right there. So you want to run that back through these rings I was talking about right here. Run those back through there, plug it in, hook up your cable to the governor back there, and then you can move on to plugging in your oil sensor back here behind the starter generator area. Alright, so we got our starter generator hanging here in its bracket now. Take a look at this cable that I was telling you guys about from the top side. You can see how it hooks in there in the bracket. Then you attach it to your governor. And you get this bolt right there into the starter generator. And at this point you're ready to pretty much just go on and put the belt on and then start throwing all your other stuff together, like your fuel lines. You got to get them back over to the carb and hook your air box back up, get your exhaust back on, all your bolts in, all of them tight, all that good stuff. Throw some oil in it and put some juice to it. Alright, there we go. So, you know, sometimes when you got an oil leak, it just boils down to it being the side cover gasket. And you do have to go through a bit of stuff to do it, but in the long run, it's worth doing because you can also change that crankshaft seal, which is a good thing. Be able to do some maintenance on it at that point too. Spark plug, fuel filter, oil filters, new oil. I mean, you just as well. Hopefully this will help you guys out. If you run into this same issue, you see a little oil all over your stuff here, everything looks kind of wet, and most likely it's a side cover gasket. As always, thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to hit that like, comment, and subscribe, guys. We'd love to have you on the channel. Check out all the stuff we could potentially help you with. Any questions out there, guys, give us a comment or give us a call. Once again, thank you so much, and God bless you.